Alright, I know this looks like a big package, and it is, but that's because there's two things in here. One anime thing and one other thing. I was not getting the anime thing out, or the boba out until box is a little, but that's okay. That's not the only anime. We also have this. Alright. So to begin with, we have Jujutsu Kaisen, Hidden Inventory, Premature Death. Which I'm not sure what this is. This isn't Zero. The Innocent Spring that the two strongest lost forever. I see a region AB, English audio. It's unfortunate because I sort of feel like Jujutsu Kaisen, while it has neat characters here, it also sort of feels like it, I don't know, it came up with a entertaining character, the person I would consider the main character, and can't help but be distracted by the other things it's created. Let's go ahead and see. Can I open this? Yeah. Good. There we go. It doesn't feel like I bent the cards badly enough to make them unusable. Good stuff. And then we've got 25 through 29. One and one. What the fucking hell is this even? No, I wasn't expecting a Discord message either, but intriguing. Okay. I'm not sure what I have here. Maybe I need to do some research. Next up, we have Chain Soldier, complete collection. That's not, you know what, there we go. Can't see my normal thing, but you know, scissors are good for that, especially if you're careful-ish with them. What is today? Today's Monday? Okay, maybe, because I see on the Discord it's a direct message to me, which probably means it's not a direct message to me. It is most likely my family figuring out my nephew's thing tomorrow. Region A, English dub. How many episodes is on this? All 12 episodes on 2 discs. I don't think this would necessarily be unwatchable, but I guess I just didn't like the ladies to some degree. I don't know. Here was a nice one. The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash. The complete season. Regions A and B. Let's mute that. There we go. Audio. English, Japanese. Okay. And this one was pleasant, but I feel like it's got some stuff that's kind of neat to go back and rewatch. I say that as in, like, you know, I did, you know, rewatch a couple of scenes from it. It's neat. I hope there ends up being a season 2. And we have our minds blown in a very comfy way, I guess. Oh, look, that is actually anime art back there. That's nice. It's been a long time since y'all have maybe seen a volume of One Piece opened up from scratch here, but here it is. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Even though it was here in time for me and my friend to watch it, my Friday friend is currently on a trip to South Africa. I hope he's okay. I haven't heard anything. This is season 14, voyage 2. Not that I know for a fact what all's going on there, but I guess a coworker said something's strange or something's up. Blu-ray, I said DVD and Blu-ray, and then the DVD and Blu-ray. And so, you know, this will be a high priority watch when he gets back. But for the time being, y'all got to see me open it up. And then last but not least, we had the Apothecary Diaries. Does that say season 1, part 1? Yeah, it does. I just couldn't remember if any of it had come out or not. I know this one's rated very high, regions A and B, audio, English and Japanese, and different underneath the slipcover. Always good. I don't think it's impossible that I'll maybe watch it. I do have the tab opened up. Consider it. It's just hard to say right now because I don't know what the time investment, if I have the energy for it or not. Save this disc from falling out. Although while it's out, let's take a peek at the image in the back. Interesting. Then disc 1, disc 2, 12 episodes. Very nice. Sorry, that plastic was sticking to my hand. Anyways, here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, I guess let's get talking. Anybody curious, Discord message wasn't exactly about planning, kind of is. I think it was more about, like, sounds like my youngest nephew is maybe no longer using the full booster seat. Not like the biggest, but kind of neat. Although, time really does fly, doesn't it? The first thing on my notes was just an acknowledgement that is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Season 5 episodes continued. I didn't watch. There's 2 of them. I didn't see when they came out. I don't know if I just noticed them at the right time or not, because I haven't watched either of them. And after these 2, the next one comes out on the 26th, I believe. So that means no new episode this week, no new episode next week, but a new episode the week after that. So I'll have to figure out what exactly I'm going to do there, but I do plan to continue it, because as much as I have had my misgivings about, I guess, this season in general, I still have a lot of investment in the series. I want to see what will happen. So, anyways, that's on the radar. Bogus Skill Fruit Master. I was halfway through episode 5, but I just kind of lost the energy to keep watching. There's something about it that doesn't feel like it's building up to me, I guess. And I don't know that that's the right way to put it, but they introduced another character, and she seems kind of like an okay design, but I'm really just not vibing the oh, she doesn't want to make weapons anymore because of an incident that involved weapons that she was made by, that were made by her. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not a big fan of it, and I wasn't finding a lot of energy, and the show's not been doing enough with its, I guess, premise to keep me fully interested. Well, anyways, I might not continue watching it. I guess we'll have to see. Possibly the Greatest Alchemist of All Time, episode 6. It was okay, I guess. You know, it's interesting. So both of the episodes that I watched on Wednesday, Possibly the Greatest Alchemist and Magic Maker, they're both dubbed. And it's interesting because there's something lackluster about the dubs. They're not, like, horrible, but they're not great, I guess. So it's an interesting thought, and I haven't commented on it. So it's a sort of show that may actually be better watched Japanese with English subtitled, but I also don't know if I care about them too much to not watch them. I'm just trying to remember what exactly happened in this episode, because I find the show to be mostly okay. Yeah, I just don't remember what happened. Magic Maker. The main thing I know about this episode is that it's interesting because I commented an episode or two ago that it felt like the pacing might be a little slow, but this one almost feels like it intentionally went a little fast. And actually I thought what it did was pretty neat, especially where it ended. It's like, oh, maybe you're going to do something with it a little bit beyond something? I don't know. Anyways, oh yes, and it ended with that little cliffhanger that it'll be interesting to see how the main character acts, but it does mean that that other thing is a little... Yeah, I just don't know what I want to say, but that was a strange thing. It's just like, oh, it's going that way. Now, that said, I said that as if those were the only two Wednesday things, and I didn't pick up any more episodes of Dr. Detective, and dubs are coming out for that, and maybe I will try to pick that up again, watch it in the background. We'll have to see how I feel, but probably more importantly, ReZero Season 3 resumed. Ah, man, I guess my eyesight really is getting bad. Huh. It's like the opposite of that Spider-Man meme, huh? Did y'all watch me get older on camera? So let's see, episode 59. Because that's what I thought it was, but it was just so blurry. I guess once I started using these, everything is just so much more blurry without them. I might be wearing them more often if I adjust, my head stops hurting. But yeah, so ReZero resumed. During the, just before the break, I mentioned there was a really nice speech in it. I really liked the dialogue and just what it did. It felt very good, very genuine. Something that's very ReZero in a lot of ways. And this episode, it's getting back into probably the real action that everything has been setting up for, maybe. I guess we'll have to see as it goes, but, it's off to an interesting enough start. So, yeah, I'm glad Season 3 is back. And I almost wish there wasn't a pause. Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper in Another World, Episode 5. That's everything that happened. And yeah, I think it was a pretty enjoyable one. It's not too adventurous, but definitely a little more so than before. But it feels like it's settled back into life stuff, and it's thrown a couple of interesting curveballs in that regard. I have definite thoughts about the way some characters interacted, things that make me maybe a little sad thinking about it. Like, I don't think it's bad sad or necessarily need to look at it and be sad, but maybe you are a little bit. I don't know. I thought it was a nice episode. Dr. Stone Science Feature Season 4 Episode 5. I think we're continuing with a person-to-person conflict. And it's okay. I can't say it's really any better or worse than any of the previous stuff it's done, but it's always gone there. And the show's always been good while that happens. It's just, I guess, I'm not a big fan of conflict, I guess. And I really do like, and I mean, like, competition, I think, is a better word. And there's a bit of a competition element to that. Whereas when it's them cooperating to overcome the elements and doing all these sciencey things and building civilization from scratch, I really love that stuff. Could just be me. but I'd still think it's being fine. Bureaucrat to Villainous, Dad's Been Reincarnated, episode 5. What all happened in this one? I guess we learned some of that and that. That. Mostly okay stuff, I guess. I still think it's a very pleasant show to put on. I just don't remember what happened at the very end of it. I think something very notable and I'm just forgetting. But it's very nice. Still not caught up on Appraiser. I still have it on the list, which means I might not be completely abandoning it yet, but we'll just have to see. I need to get the energy. Dragon Ball Daima, episode 17. They do seem to be setting up something that could be a bit of a final battle for this season or the series. And there are elements of it that kind of remind me, for both better and worse, of the Dragon Ball Z movies. You know how sometimes those could be there and maybe you thought some of the action was neat, and I think the action here is neat, but I'm not sure if it feels like it fits in the universe correctly. I think the main problem I have here is, based on the way it's set up, you'd be asking the question, okay, if that's really the way things are, why hasn't anybody from the Dragon Realm actually successfully gotten the Dragon Balls? Because it looks like they could have. But I don't know. The action's been okay, neat. Unfortunately for Dragon Ball Daima, it's actually got competition this week, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf, episode 5. Let's see. I guess overall, entertaining enough. Interesting things happening. I guess I'm not quite sure what they're doing with these characters or not. But, you know, one of the problems with the show is that sometimes it's, oh yeah, here's a pleasant way to introduce neat things from our world to somebody from an isekai fantasy world. I could have sworn somebody ate curry. Oh yes, Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper. He fed curry to the little girl. You know, that has to happen every anime whenever cooking becomes a thing. But, yeah. I think the Miss Elf episode 4 had curry in it. Can't remember. Maybe it was something else. But overall, you know, episode 5, neat. It's just that the isekai stuff isn't easy to be as exciting about because it doesn't have a motivation, I guess, a way forward. Like, they're not working to defeat the Demon King. They're not working to get more powerful. They almost just sort of are. And, I don't know. I May Be a Guild Receptionist, episode 5. I'd say it's a little bit... it's not getting... but it is... almost feeling like maybe it's a little bit leaning on its premise and not branching out beyond it a little bit. The main character's attitude is kind of bad, but she's fun when she does stuff, so that's all watchable anyways. Beheneko, I did not watch episode 7. I haven't removed it from the list, so I might still catch up on it. We'll have to see how I feel. They did leave on a cliffhanger at episode 6, and it would be interesting to see, but I don't know. I was just so exhausted that it didn't seem that important. But Solo Leveling Season 2, episode 18. So, this is more of this season being pretty great. And I think the action in this episode is a really good example of how to do a lot of things right. So, like, I think to a certain degree our main character is somewhat invincible and there are somewhat stakes. But this isn't supposed to be a combat which kind of shows him struggling. And I think that's good because some of the moments where we see him struggling sort of feel a little artificial, I guess. And I think part of the reason of that is, like, our main character is going off on his own to do stuff, which would be okay if it was going off on his own to do stuff with other people. And those are some of the best parts of season 1. But when he's going into these instances where it's just him, it's hard to feel like it's nothing but artificial to a certain degree. And so while there's stakes, and that kind of makes up for it, I would think, for the most part, a lot of the show has been, he does get more powerful, he does do stuff, he struggles to get more powerful, and so it doesn't feel unearned, but for some reason it just feels a little artificial. But in season 2, those moments where it's like, okay, we don't always need to show him struggling, and moments like this episode where he's clearly not struggling, and this isn't the only time this season, the purpose of it is to kind of broaden the world. Like, I've commented before, that's anime where people are going, what the fuck, oh my god. You know, the more people you have kind of doing that, and feeling like legitimate doing that, kind of the neater it is. I've talked about Figure 17 before, about how that's one of the things that makes the first episode just grab onto you, and it probably won't grab onto everybody because the slice of life in that one is so realistic in a way where it's like characters explain things very badly, and it doesn't feel like it's just, oh, the English dub was bad. It just feels like even if there was like weird translation stuff, it was just a bad explanation, but it feels like the bad explanation that somebody would try to give in real life. And there's just a lot of elements about Figure 17 that work that way. But in the first episode, the thing that really helps grab, other than that feeling and the neat artwork, is the first episode ends where it's like everybody in that scene is just going, oh my god, what the fuck? Like, that's probably literally what DD said. But he said it in Alienese, so you couldn't understand it. He's like, what the fuck? And she said what the fuck, and she said what the fuck, and he said what the fuck, and he said, and it's like, you know, that everybody's mind was blown. You know, we can feel that as the audience, our mind is blown. And there's strong elements of that here in season 2, because the entire point of season 2 seems to be, well, it's called Arise from the Shadow, and some of that references some of his skill growth at the end of the previous season, but it also seems to be okay, he's been on his own solo leveling, but now more and more people are just being exposed to whatever he is and whatever he's becoming. And the thing about the show that's been entertaining in this season is, you know, he's definitely had moments where he said like, maybe at this point I would be ranked, I would be a high B or low A. You know, he would have stuff like that, but as he's being revealed, they're doing it after he reaches mile points such that people are just getting their minds blown. And the interesting thing is they don't actually show a whole lot of that. You just know that you get snippets here and there, but it focuses a lot on the combat. And so the stakes involved, you know, it doesn't feel like he has as much at stake. It's just how much are people's minds being blown, and we the audience get to enjoy it, not necessarily because we feel like, oh, if he accidentally reacts half a second slower here, he's going to die, or somebody else here is going to die, or John Wick's dog is going to die. You know, it's nothing stakey like that, but it's enjoyable because it's also not a one-trick pony. It's not like him doing the same awesome thing and people just getting their mind blown. What he keeps doing, it's like in the battle in this episode, he's like a 15-trick pony or something like that. It's like there's no one part of the battle where it's just like, okay, now here it is doing the other thing. You can go like, well, he's never done that in this battle. Maybe not in a previous battle. He hasn't done that in this battle or in a previous battle. You can just keep listing it off, and it's energetic, fun, engaging. And I think this season 2 is doing a great job. Now, whether or not it'll continue to do a great job, we'll have to see. Because, you know, eventually, when the only thing that is up is going Super Saiyan 3. Oh wait, that did happen, didn't it? Going Super Saiyan 4. At that point, you have to say, okay, yeah, we kind of wrote ourselves into a corner. But with Solo Leveling, at least it doesn't feel like you'll do that, because it does feel like there's end goals. There's little story threads that have been set up that make it feel like major plot events are churning up more and more and more as we go. So this may be a story with an actual point to it. You know, an idea of what does it want to conclude? What does it mean when it gets to the end? I don't think it feels like it'll be Attack on Titan level, but I think it's still very appreciable where it is and where it's going. Alright, I've gushed about that one enough. Zenshu, episode 6. I think this one was a good follow-up. I mentioned in the previous episode being a bit worried about the main character's ego being a little bit there, and this one was supposed to be a follow-up to that, and you could tell by the end of the previous episode that that was the goal, that was where it was going, and I think the stuff that happened was neat. The only problem being that now I want to see the next episode, because, you know, I think they wrapped up a notable character turning point, and I need to know what they're going to do with that to kind of even know what the next episode will be about. And I think that's pretty good. Red Ranger is still, I haven't caught up on it, but that one's being dubbed, so there's a possibility that when the episode 3 dub comes out this coming weekend, I may just resume the dub just because that's something I could have on in the background. We'll have to see, no promises, because I want to give it its 3rd episode, but I just haven't yet. Ari Ferretta, season 3, episode 15. I think this is kind of what I would have expected from this part. It surprised me that it wasn't as emotionally impactful as I thought it could potentially be. But yeah, I think it was there. They're now pretty close to something big and important, so I think my comments many years ago about this being close to the end of the series it still feels like a possibility. Interested to see. Headhunted to Another World, episode 7. This episode was an interesting roller coaster, because I didn't quite predict what it was setting up from the previous episode, and now that I see this, it's like, okay, that's actually an entertaining direction for it to have gone. And then it seemed like the resolution to it was, well, clever, also a little simple and convenient, but then they added a couple more layers on top of it that are like, okay, there's something about this where it began neat, neat, this is a little basic. Oh, I think even though it was a little on the nose with some of it, it's a little touching in a way, I think. I think it was a good episode. And then, last but not least, I'm a Noble on the Brink of Ruin, episode 7. I guess it's continuing to be there. This is one of those ones where I continue watching because I do feel like everything is building up on something else, so it's like, it does feel like it's building on top of itself. Unlike Fruit Master, which sort of feels like it's meandering, maybe in a forwardy direction, but I don't know. But I'm not sure what else I have to say about it. It's not perfect, but it's okay, I guess. So, anything else to comment on? From a video game perspective, okay, so Dead by Daylight is doing their 2v8 mode again. This one's interesting because this time it's actually Resident Evil themed. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's Resident Evil and everything is Resident Evil, but it does mean that of the 3 new killers they added, one of them is Legion. He has a hunk, skin hunk is from Resident Evil. I don't know Resident Evil enough to know that other than it exists. But they added Wesker Nemesis, and so you can do a Wesker Nemesis combo. and you can have the Hunk skin for Legion or the Birkin skin for Blight. And I feel like maybe I mentioned this stuff before. They also have herbs. Resident Evil map was added to the 2v8 roster. It all looks neat, but I'm a little bit too busy to actually participate in it myself for the time being. You know, partially getting ready for this video, but also getting ready for Valentine's Day. I'm going to cover a lot of strawberries with chocolate this year. But one interesting thing is I actually played the original Doom 1993 episode 1. In particular, what I did was I played an Archipelago version of it. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. I suspect it's maybe not as widely known as a whole lot of stuff, because I think it mostly tends to branch out of the speedrunning community. It's not necessarily something that's only for speedrunners, but it definitely has a lot of elements to it where you can tell people who learn a lot of the speedrunning tricks and have played games so much that they play randomizer versions of it. Well, Archipelago, it's kind of 2 levels evolved from that. The second level evolved from that would be something like there's Super Metroid Zelda 3, I think SMZ 3 as it's called, where you transition between the 2 games getting items for the different games, because they both kind of have a Metroidvania progression to them. But the idea is items from one game could be in the other game. And Archipelago is an extension of that, where anybody with compatible games that can be Archipelago patched and all that stuff, items for your game can be in other games, and items for other games can be in your game. And I've not played it because a lot of it really does come down to high energy, speedrunner sort of stuff. It's like I looked at Super Mario World at this game option. It's a game option. I'm like, oh, I kind of could maybe play that. But when you look at what does Archipelago do to that? Well, it takes away some of your movement options. Like, the movement options are the only reason you play Super Mario World. And I can kind of understand why maybe that's the only option it could have. But, you know, it's still one of those things where it's like, okay, that's for somebody who's played the game so much that they're not just saying, oh, I'm going to play this game that I am kind of familiar with. But Doom, it was pretty good for that. Now, granted, I did spend a lot of time trying to remember where's the secrets and stuff, but... And this was episode 1, mission 1, so of course, So of course I knew it better than... I said mission 1. This is episode 1, so I knew those better. I played them so many times because we had the demo version forever. And I only played episode. I could have put episodes 2 and 3, also episode 4 if I wanted to. But I just went with episode 1, and, you know, levels were locked, guns were locked, key cards were locked. But you could go back to the map selector and go to any level. And my goal was to finish all the levels. And it's just like, oh yeah, you know, you can just sort of casually play Doom. Especially if you know how to look up things like maps, which I might be doing for the future things, just in order to give me something to keep doing, so I'm more able to unlock everybody else. But yeah, it was nice. It was very nice, and I did this with the same nephew that they were talking about on there. Well, okay, they were actually talking about the younger nephew. This was the older nephew, the one who has a thing on tomorrow. It's all fun stuff. Anyways, I guess that's me finishing geeking out, and this time I'm starting to geek out with glasses on. Make of that what you will. I guess since y'all saw that, if anybody's curious, that's the pair of glasses I have on at home, but usually when I'm out and about, you know, I've got that. Well, I think that makes me look a little older too, but you know, I am getting older. Hopefully y'all aren't feeling older me saying that, but you know, that's just reality. Alright, now I'm really done geeking out. Y'all, have a nice Valentine's Day.